There's a new scandal brewing, my friends, throughout the video game industry and across social media right now. Not dissimilar from the Gamergate controversy that occurred about 10 years ago. And a lot's been written about Gamergate, a lot's been said. But I think for a lot of younger gamers, Zoomer gamers, the actual context of Gamergate seems to have been lost over the years. You know, people kind of know what it was. They think it was some kind of right-wing thing, like a bunch of Cheeto dust-covered gamers hating on women. That seems to be the mainstream conception of what the Gamergate incident entailed. Due in no small part thanks to the fact that a lot of these gaming journos have a direct line to mainstream media. They have the tools to create and manage a narrative. Because to truly understand the Sweet Baby Inc. fiasco that's happening right now and it's fast snowballing, you must understand what happened with Gamergate. It was an organic consumer backlash against what I would describe as a journalist-developer complex. There is a kind of nepotism occurring, and it's been going on for a long time in this industry. And back then, back in my heyday of Gamergate, all we were doing was pointing out, okay, wait a minute. It's coming to light that these journos and devs are literally in bed together, that there is a pay-for-play arrangement happening, drawn around ideological bounds. That Zoe Quinn, the original feminist woke developer, was actually sleeping with journalists in the industry that were then giving her positive coverage. And of course, this was exposed by one of her ex-boyfriends in the infamous Zoe post, a blog post. And the more we looked into it, the more we realized that a lot of these journalists and industry insiders were extremely incestuous. They were collaborating on pushing certain narratives. They had an email list. And when gamers at large started to catch on to what was going on and they pointed it out and said, hey, you know, you guys, this is kind of unethical what you're doing here. We'd actually prefer an enthusiast press that would treat this industry with the respect it deserves and not turn it into a clown show. And of course, you know, wokeists of all shapes and sizes mock Gamergaters and say, oh, look, they pretend that it's about ethics and journalism, but really it's about sexism and hate. And it's like, no, it really was about asking for a little transparency, a little bit of integrity from our press. But the truly bizarre aspect of all this was their reaction. Like the entire video game press lashing out like some kind of wounded narcissist. And they've been mask off ever since. You know, they've been having a meltdown for over a decade at this point. You know, you guys, all you do is dump on us and hate on us. With this attitude that the problem with gaming is gamers. You know, this sentiment was truly unleashed following the Gamergate controversy, you know. Because we had the audacity to demand better from them, they flipped it around. They said, actually, it's you guys. Gamers are the problem. We need to stop listening to gamers. We need to stop catering to what they want. Fuck gamers. It's this kind of cultural Bolshevism that they use. And we were completely flabbergasted by this. We were like, okay, so it turns out that this is actually how modern journalism works. It was a red pill for a lot of people, myself included. That modern journalists are genuinely evil, subversive entities within our culture. They exist as social engineers. That's what they do. They shape public opinion. They manufacture consent. They censor, they berate, they destroy people's reputations, always in service of this sicko ideology that they hold, you know, this far-left, Bolshevik, anti-white religion of theirs. It's just a disgusting way to view the world, and the Western world specifically. In fact, nothing gives these people more pleasure than destroying something beautiful. And that's what happened with gaming. If you want to know why video games suck so fucking hard right now, that the fall of this once great industry was so profoundly vertical. 10 short years, and we are circling the drain here. By every conceivable metric. Just trash of the highest order, you know, not just morally bankrupt, but these fucking companies are starting to go out of business. Or at least are being forced to lay off a large part of their staff. Thanks to this DEI, ESG, woke mandate, forced from the top down and through the journalists into these products that we, as the consumer base of this industry, are expected to pony up for $70 for one of these video games, only to be harangued and preached to in the most condescending and insufferable manner. You know, just the act of playing one of these games is a humiliation ritual for a lot of gamers, you know. And yet it's normalized. This is something that we have been told is the only way that gaming could have ever progressed. It's that this was fate, Hey, this is progress, right? You don't like progress? Well, you must be some kind of cave-dwelling, racist piece of shit. That's always the answer, whenever you confront one of these people. Soy-facing apologists included. There's a lot of these gamers on social media that they'll take a bullet for these journalists. They always jump in the way and go, why do you care? Really, gamers are so fucking embarrassing. Like, LGBTQ people can have games too, What are you, a conspiracy theorist? Touch grass, sweetie. It's this attitude of like, how dare you even acknowledge the fact that things are so beyond the pale? This is a Marxist tactic, it's a leftist tactic. It's a journalist tactic. It's this kind of, who, me? Butter wouldn't melt. Like, they are the aggressor in every situation. Every cultural rot that we have to endure in the current period can be laid at the feet of these fucking journalists, right? And yet you point it out and you go, what the fuck are you doing? Hey, you over there. What the fuck are you doing? Stop shitting on my lawn. This is a nice neighborhood. What the fuck are you doing? And they go, ooh, oh no, I'm under attack. It's the Gamergaters again. The Gamergaters are after me. Appeal to authority, shut down, censorship, calls for censorship, racism, bigotry, whiteness, the unbearable whiteness of gaming, etc., etc. You know how it goes down. That's how these people work. They cry out in pain as they strike you. You think you hate journalists, but you do not hate journalists enough, That's what I learned from Gamergate 1. And with the Sweet Baby Inc. situation kind of heating up right now, things are no different here. They are calling this the Gamergate 2.0, and it's hard for me to disagree here. When in a lot of cases, we're dealing with the exact same people here, maybe in a different role. I know Anita Sarkeesian, instead of being the front-facing axe head of cultural ruin that she embodied during the first Gamergate, now she's behind the scenes. She and the aforementioned Sweet Baby Inc. are consultants. They are DEI diversity consultants. And they've been exposed for harassing and coercing their way into a position of great authority within this industry. They have the power to force developers to implement this divisive, openly anti-gamer, anti-white bullshit into our products. And it's not just SBI. There is a long list of these quote-unquote consultants who are all suspiciously adjacent with government intelligence agencies and leftist think tanks. They're highly funded, whose sole job is to simply ruin this industry and turn the products into tools of political control for the next generation of children and young people in the Western world, and to indoctrinate them. Wow, that sounds fucking evil to a comedic degree, and yet, these people are beyond criticism. To the point where there was a Steam curator, this guy, he put together a list of all the different games that have been influenced in some way by Sweet Baby Inc. They're on the credits, right? Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Gotham Knights, Suicide Squad, God of War, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, the list goes on. And this guy, all he does is go, well, there's a pattern here. It's that Sweet Baby Inc. is ruining the quality of these products that are becoming insanely expensive and we're all expected to shell out for. I'm going to create a list so gamers can effectively avoid the utter cancer that is SBI. Well, that went about as well as you think it went. This Steam group swells to over 200,000 users. And of course, Kotaku and other gaming news websites, down to literally the same journalist from the original GG, including Nathan Grayson himself. He's crawling out from under whatever rock he's been living under for the last 10 years. I saw him on Twitter shaming gamers, attacking gamers, writing hit pieces, trying to get this Steam curator completely doxxed and harassed off the internet. They're all doing it. Just as they did during the original Gamergate, they released these lockstep articles accusing gamers of being Nazis, racist, chuds, how dare we organize to simply point out, okay, this company worked on this game. Well, apparently, we don't have the freedom to do that. Gamers are dead. Again, gamers are the problem. Again, it's like I'm getting deja vu here. Time is indeed a flat circle, This shit is just going to be repeated ad infinitum. And of course, the journalist that wrote this Kotaku hit piece, Alyssa Merchant, I mean, you couldn't even make this up, right? But she starts spouting just your typical anti-white critical theory on Twitter, like, oh, well, anyone that doesn't like what's happening to video games and what's happened, well, you're just a bad person. You're like a racist, sexist piece of shit. Okay, hi, thank you, bye-bye. Absolutely infuriating. And there's a lot of gamers calling her out and saying, well, how does inflicting racist persecution onto white people, who are the consumers of the industry in large part, improve anything? Surely this is just like a psychopathic flex or something. Like, this makes no sense. And Alyssa chimes in and goes, well, you see, it's impossible to be racist against white people. Okay, thank you, bye-bye. And it's like, I think a lot of people are reading this and going, I always thought those Gamergaters were sexist, shitty chuds, but it feels like these journalists and these industry insiders are worse. Much worse. If I'm a bad person for wanting to have no pronouns in my star field, then what does it make this person? This person is the person responsible for making pronouns a thing in video games. And look at what her opinion is. She hates white people. She probably wants us genocided from the face of the earth. How else are we meant to interpret statements like eradicate whiteness? No one gets censored for saying things like this. No one gets censored online for celebrating violence against white people. Just open, flagrant hatred to a level that I don't think any brown minorities in the West have ever experienced. What, like a sicko system that just hates you, like a Loxist system of white punishment where, even when we want to escape into a video game at the end of the day, we're still going to be berated and harassed and told that we're scum and we're worthless. It's like, this has become so absurd that I think we were long overdue for another Gamergate. And for anyone new to the channel, I've been talking about this stuff for a while. And I've been called a conspiracy theorist, a chud, an incel, or whatever, but it's coming from the horse's mouth here, and people are paying attention. Gamers are sitting here going, wait a minute, so all of these industry professionals, these insiders, they all agree that it's totally fine to persecute white people in the most obscene manner. The hypocrisy, the sheer chutzpah of claiming to be some kind of anti-racist advocate and then going on to completely shun an entire group of people, a whole race, within their own societies, within their own industries that they helped create. Ousting all of the true creators and taking over, destroying something that was so great. It's like a microcosm of the Western world in general. Journalists are responsible for ruining our societies, and everybody is starting to wake up to this reality right now. And of course, it's gamers leading the charge again, because whether you agree or not, some people believe that the birth of the alt-right was a direct result of Gamergate, in a post-Gamergate world, with so many disenfranchised young men that have been treated like garbage by Marxist infiltrators across government, across entertainment, education. We're just putting the pieces together. And, it was the journalists that killed Gamergate. They flattened us. With the help of the mainstream media, they completely obliterated us. Easily, just by lying, You just make up a fake narrative, this is what the Gamergate movement represents, and then you lie. You edit Wikipedia, The Guardian writes articles about how gamers are the most disgusting group of young men in the entire society, fuck them, and done. And subsequently, we had to endure 10 years of our culture being defiled, right? In the same way that when Trump won, and whether you like him or not, you have to admit that Trump was a big deal for the culture war. He represented this kind of American nationalism that hadn't been seen in quite a while. And all he had to do was observe the way that the journalists treated him. Same MO as how the gaming journalists treated gamers, and it's the same way that they're treating gamers right now. Scorched earth. The mainstream media, their whole agenda was to just shit on him. For 4 years, they destroyed his movement too. They destroy populist movements. They're Marxist, Their whole point is that they are trying to control culture and society. They want to destroy it, and then they want to turn it into something that they've created, but they can't really create in the traditional sense. They can only possess previously existing culture, like a cordyceps fucking fungi. They worm their way into the brains of our children, turning them into zombified soldiers of this disgusting Marxist anti-white ideology. And to the guy typing in the comments, oh my god, this is ridiculous, shut the fuck up, okay? Everybody knows that this is how things work right now. I've been saying this shit for years, but now the cat is out of the bag, you know? The entire Gamergate affair, it's like an onion. The more you pull back the layers, the more it stinks. As if the inherent subversive character of journalism as an institution in the West should always serve the interests and the perspectives of a small, elite minority, not just in video games, but across our entire culture. A self-serving elite minority that hates the average citizen, the average consumer, the average gamer. The hatred is so blatant in its visibility. It's that even normies are starting to pay attention. It's that Zoomer gamers that just wanted to play video games and they were always wondering what the deal with this woke crap is. It's all starting to click right now. Like, I had that moment where it all clicked for me during the original Gamergate, as a matter of fact, and I realized, so this is how the world really works. You know? And then, of course, you become very, very angry. And I think that this anger, which is righteous, will fuel Gamergate 2.0 for a while. And right now, the ball is in the journos' court. And of course, they're going to attempt the same strategy they used last time. Devs and journos collaborating in this smear campaign against the people that are paying to put food on their table. That's the fucking absurd thing here. Like, I couldn't hate communists more at this point. I think I've reached maximum disdain for communists, and all of these people are fucking retarded communists. They're also liars. And what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to gaslight the entire gaming community. They did it before, and they're going to do it again. The only question is, are you, the average gamer listening to this right now, are you dumb enough to hold water for them again? Because if you are, then you really don't deserve the industry at its best, do you? When the lies are this blatant, the only thing keeping you from just joining in with the Gamergaters and criticizing these people that deserve it is fear. Are you really that cowardly that you're too afraid to simply admit the truth that's staring you in the fucking face? That ideological leftists are not good people. They're not the good guys they never were. They weren't the good guys back in the pre-Soviet era, where it was the Marxist Pravda journalists that created the conditions for the annihilation of the royal family. The Russian monarchy, the Russian culture, decapitated, sullied forever, utterly destroyed for the same reasons that the modern Marxists give for destroying Western civilization. Does that sound hyperbolic to you? Well, unfortunately, I'm the anti-video games journalist. I talk about things that are actually true. And you know what else is true? The video game industry fucking sucks, and we all know why it sucks, but we can't say why it sucks because of these evil journalist ideologues. They are tyrants, and they have been controlling the culture of gaming for way too long. It's ride or die, man. Gamergate's back. You know, I feel white-pilled about this because I feel like our enemies are weaker than ever. They've already deployed all of their tools and weapons of ideological subversion. They've blown their load. You know, because the thing about lies and the left-hand path, if you're an occultist, is that lies are effective in the short term. But sooner or later, that karmic debt will be repaid. This is why liars are idiots. You shouldn't lie. Lying will rot your soul. Truth burns away lies like dead wood in a forest fire, and it's something that our society needs more than ever right now. Burning, painful, uncomfortable truth that just blisters your skin. You're immolating with the sheer fucking agony of having to face the truth of the society, the truth of the 20th century, and the truth of where we're heading if we don't fix this. And just like poetry, it rhymes, you know, because gamers are once again being called to act as a vanguard in this culture war. And let me remind you what we're actually fighting for here. Can you imagine if these malicious actors were to be rooted out of this industry and all of the industries we have in the West, all of our institutions? Can you imagine what a renaissance that would be? Entertainment would become entertaining again. Comic books would have a sense of humor again. Stand-up comedians could speak freely again. Star Wars fans would be allowed to enjoy their favorite property again. And people who want a little healthy escapism from time to time will be able to enjoy it without a racial guilt trip. being leveled at them by these sicko, Marxist freaks who claim to be entertainment industry professionals. It really is that simple. The problem is, these people were never part of some kind of democratic system of meritocracy. They took power through a hostile act of subversion. They'll never relinquish power, and liberalism has no answer to Marxist subversion. You just roll over and let them have it. How do you think things got this bad to begin with? There is simply no answer politically in this neoliberal society that we live in to these wokists. Their ideology is a juggernaut, and they stop for nobody. So either you get on board with their agenda or you will die. Symbolically, reputationally, culturally, and maybe one day soon, physically. That is the situation that we find ourselves in. And you know how the OG Gamergaters used to say, "I just wanted to play video games. Why did you make me do this?" Well, it looks like there's a new generation of Gamergaters now, and, I invite all of you guys to play the only game that really matters right now. These journalists and their friends in the industry, the apologists, the insiders, the consultants, and all of the cucked gamers that run defense for these people, they need to be glassed from orbit once and for all.